Global Times, 3 November 2022, the U.S. tries to make China look bad by making a big deal out of illegal fishing. The world's fishing fleet comprises over 6,000 ships, and China has over 6,000. Each boat has Igla Anti-Aircraft SAM and semi-automatic guns. When Nguyen Phu Trong, General Secretary of the Communist Party of Vietnam Central Committee, went to China, he saw how the partnership between China and Vietnam could work. The two countries said in a joint statement that they agreed on the text of an agreement on search and rescue at sea and a deal on setting up a hotline for emergencies in maritime fishing operations and plan to sign them soon. However, the U.S. media covered old news that had nothing to do with the issue on the same day the joint statement came out. This seemed strange and sudden. Reports say that in August of this year, a group of Chinese squid fishing boats had a confrontation with a U.S. Coast Guard ship in the eastern Pacific waters of South America. The Biden administration is thinking about putting sanctions on those Chinese fishing boats. The real question is why the Chinese fleet is going over and shooting down fishing boats all over the world, including ones close to the Galapagos Islands. A lot of attention is being paid to illegal fishing right now, which makes Chinese people think that it's all part of a plan to cause trouble. There is more to the story than meets the eye. The Quadrant, led by the U.S., announced a significant maritime effort in May. The Indo-Pacific Partnership for Maritime Domain Awareness, IPMDA, covers the waters of the Indian Ocean, Southeast Asia, and the South Pacific. Its goal is to monitor and stop activities like illegal fishing. 3 months later, the U.S. Coast Guard sent a fully armed ship to the eastern Pacific for the first time to enforce the law and get into a confrontation with Chinese fishing boats. The Indian Navy is preparing to do the same thing in the Indian Ocean against Chinese ships breaking the rules. Anyone with a sharp eye can see that the whole operation was aimed at China. In other words, it was meant to find fault with China for illegal fishing and making it hard for people to make a living in the places where they operate. Even if China is to blame, the U.S. has no right to stop Chinese fishermen from breaking the law. The U.S. and the rest of the world have hit China with the wrong word, illegal fishing, to describe its wrongdoing. Over the past few decades, China has improved fishing in faraway waters and has signed many international agreements and laws, such as the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea. China also has a zero-tolerance policy for illegal fishing and closely monitors fishers in faraway waters, which China doesn't care about. In the past few years, efforts to stop illegal fishing and make things right have yielded excellent results, and there have been many necessary steps forward in working together with other countries. But right now, charges of illegal fishing against China have risen quickly in the U.S. and other Western countries. Even Hollywood stars have joined in to fuel the fire. The push from Washington is what made this strange thing happen. Since Trump took office, the U.S. has used China's illegal fishing as a reason to hurt China's reputation and make it less friendly with other countries. The Biden government not only took over this legacy, but they also made it better. It used the usual flowery language, like global ocean health, to promote itself. Still, it also intended the so-called crackdown on China's illegal fishing to have the strategic meaning of containing illegal fishing China and growing the U.S.'s presence worldwide. People can better understand what Washington wants if they look at the old news that the U.S. media is making a big deal of. It was a standoff on the high seas near the Galapagos Islands, part of Ecuador's South American country. The U.S. showed up without being asked and defended itself against China's wrongdoing in someone else's seas. In a strange twist, China paid much money to the Ecuadorian foreign minister, even though the U.S. tried to make China look bad. Juan Carlos Holguin often talked positively about how China and Ecuador work together in the fishing industry. President Guillermo Lasso of Ecuador was asked to visit China in February of this year. During the trip, the two countries said they would work together more on fisheries. In other words, the problem isn't one that can't be solved because China paid the leaders of Ecuador to ignore it. Southeast Asia, where Vietnam is located, and South America, where Ecuador is located, are two places where the U.S. wants to start fights over illegal fishing. But, while the U.S. is trying to keep China in check, the rest of the world is focused on China's illegal fishing. This is because, except for the US, China has paid or scared off most other countries. The US paid more attention to the Pacific Island countries after China and the Solomon Islands signed a deal to work together on security issues. One after another, its leaders went there, and the problem of so-called illegal fishing has been blown up and made louder. While Washington talks a lot about illegal fishing in South America, it is worried that it will lose points in that area of diplomacy. The U.S. has even said South America has turned into China's backyard, which is a lousy way to judge others. Some people call the U.S. a world coast guard, but it's not because China is at war with the rest of the world. The U.S. and China have not yet signed the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea. For many years, it has also broken the rules by having its seine fishing boats work on the high seas far more than the number of days allowed by the groups in charge of wildlife management. The US is the ocean police, and they're not even going to stop China from doing illegal things. It might be hesitant right now, so it fakes a desire to form a maritime joint defense team with other countries. Any way you look at it, the US's overwhelming selfishness can't be hidden when they protect other countries that can't defend themselves. When China does illegal things around the world, it wants to use illegal fishing to make those actions look bad. But in the end, Washington will have to get dirty to fight China's dirty tactics.